Welcome, I am Halcyon. This is Hug Nation. Today I want to talk about radical inclusion. Radical inclusion is one of the 10 principles of Burning Man. And it's significant. And it has multiple, levels on which it works. There is an aspect of Burning Man of embracing the stranger. And this last weekend was Coachella, or the first weekend of the Coachella weekends. Side note, I went to the first Coachella, and actually I was back when Vice magazine was an actual magazine, I was featured in Vice magazine as a Coachella fashion don't. I would take that as a huge badge of honor. I was wearing a sky blue leisure suit, open and chest out, with a sequin silver cowboy hat and my hair in these tiny braids. So, and my shoes also had silver sequins on them that matched the sequin hat. I thought I was, fly with a capital bzzz, but I could see how if you were, a poorly paid journalist and looking for fashion don'ts, I could easily fill the role of scapegoat for obnoxiousness. But this weekend was Coachella, and Coachella is an example of a place that I think, I haven't been in many, many, many years. I went the first 2 years. After that, I don't feel included in the radical inclusion of Coachella. I feel, there is a vibe of, the Jenners and the Kardashians and the Instagram influencers and this kind of fashion show on the polo grounds kind of vibe. I don't even know if that's true, but for the sake of this argument, let's say that is true, and let's say that radical inclusion is the antidote of that. Radical inclusion is saying that you are welcome. You, as an authentic human expression, is welcome. And I think that is such this liberating idea. Burning Man is not for a type of person. It's not for cool kids. It's not for visual artists. It's not for partiers. It's for people who are drawn to it. If you are drawn to it, then you are welcome. And people often get really frustrated with an influx of people that are different than them. What the real frustration I think people have is when there's an influx of people who don't get the vibe of Burning Man, that don't understand the principles, that come seeking a Coachella experience, or come seeking a music vibe experience, or come seeking hot naked girls. People classify those as bros or frat guys or something like that. And as someone, a former bro and frat guy, I'm especially appreciative of the idea of radical inclusion, because it means whatever you've been does not preclude you from becoming your true, amazing, incredible self. And if you can get around enough people who are expressing authentically, you will have more encouragement to express authentically, and you can crack out of your bro shell or find a way to remain your bro self and do so as a gift to Burning Man and the planet. And so we have this peace amongst the Burning Man community, even though there's incredibly diverse groups. People say, what kind of person goes to Burning Man? All types of people. People always have these expectations of, I wouldn't like it because, I don't like loud music, or I don't party, or I don't do drugs, right? I'm like, you could spend all day, every day going to yoga classes. You could spend all day, every day attending lectures and hanging out with scientists, or you could do body work, or you could do trapeze or circus or drugs, or listen to music or play music or learn puppetry or orgy. Is that a verb? I orgy, we orgy, nosotros orgemos. My point is, it is the radical inclusion that says, hey, whatever you authentically want to share, it's welcome here. Assuming you can get a ticket, but that's a whole different story. But there's another part of radical inclusion that I wanted to touch on, and that is something that it kind of creeped into my awareness over the years. And that is, and I apologize if I use the wrong terminology, but in terms of making things inclusive to people with special needs. For example, Pink Heart, we serve vegan ice cream. And we have the option of gluten-free cones, and we don't serve alcohol. We try to create a experience that is radically inclusive. We try to create a gift that is available to the lowest common denominator. And it's by design. You know, I'm not saying that every expression, every gift should be accessible to everybody. That would water down everything, and there'd be no point. We just have a bunch of beige, bland stuff. Like, oh, no, that's too high. People that are afraid of heights wouldn't like that. Oh, that's too spicy. People that don't like spicy food wouldn't like that. No, but I'm saying that there are opportunities within the Burning Man gifting process to take a step back and say, could this be more available to more people? And I think we're seeing that more and more at Burning Man. There is a project going on right now called Stair Ramps to Heaven that I just contributed to, and I encourage others to think about it. They are building ramps for wheelchair access onto art cars, to mutant vehicles. And they're going to have one at the Man and at the Temple, at Mobility Camp, and I think at the 6 and 9 plazas, I believe, so that people who use wheelchairs will have accessibility in these ways. And I think that's awesome. It's a way, it's not saying all art cars need to make sure they do this, or we can't have no, it's saying, hey, here's a way that we can make something that's awesome more radically inclusive. Sweet. Another thing that I've done recently is I started to make friends with a bunch of hearing impaired deaf burners, and realized that by not putting captions on my videos, I was not being radically inclusive. But for the ones that are Burning Man tips, like this one right now, I will make captions for this because I'm talking about burners, and I want to make my Burning Man art, which my Burning Man art is the sharing and talking about principles and enculturation. I want to make my Burning Man art as radically inclusive as possible, and I want to speak and connect to you because I want Burning Man to continue to get as crazy and wacky as possible. I think that there should be, tons of stuff that is more than I can handle, that is not taking me into consideration at all, that is too violent for me, that is too exciting for me, that is too acrobatic or too athletic. Yes, keep pushing it in every direction you want. But when there's something that can be made accessible to people who, are older or have a disability or have a quirk or have a dietary restriction, why not? Why not as a practice, as a culture, just as we're trying to get a culture of consent, a culture of radical inclusion in that way? It is an act of love. I am open to suggestions. If you see ways that me and my camp and the community can be more radically inclusive, let's talk about it. And not in a, you asshole, you don't consider us, but hey, here's a new way of thinking about it, because that's the way that we can move forward. And I think that when we're seeking these new ways as a form of art, radical inclusion as art, as a way to be bolder, just like more LEDs is brighter, more inclusive is like another type of a bigger art. So let's make our art big in scope as well as in heart. Can you tell that I'm getting excited about Burning Man? It's right around the corner. Can't wait to see you at home. And if you're not Burning Man bound, these are concepts that are so helpful in every part of life. And having a community and having people like this, these moments like this where we can support one another and accept one another, we can bring that into every part of our lives and make the default world into a magical place as well. Thank you. I love you. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. It means so much to me, and the ability for people to find this community of open-hearted, loving vibrations. This is Halcyon with Pink Heart Camp, and I love you.